There is a black hole that no one knew existed, not because it was small, not because it was too far away, but because it was wandering through space without destroying anything. Invisible, nameless, unrecorded in any catalog, until a star passed through the wrong place. Only then did we know it was there. And the question no one is asking out loud is simple. How many more exist that haven't found anything yet? You've felt it before. Alone in a dark room, walking down an empty street in the dead of night, waking up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason. There's nothing to hear. There's nothing to see. But some part of your brain, the oldest part, the part that existed before language, decides that something is there, in the dark, right behind you. The human brain evolved under the assumption that the invisible was dangerous, ignoring that feeling had consequences. Science calls this an adaptive response, a mechanism built over millions of years, because, for most of the history of life on this planet, what you couldn't see could kill you before you even realized it. And the real problem, is that when you look at the universe closely enough, this instinct doesn't seem like paranoia. It seems like the only rational behavior possible. Not because the universe is supernatural, not because there is something out there with intent, but because in 2025, astronomers confirmed that a supermassive black hole was wandering through space, displaced from the center of its own galaxy, completely invisible, with no detectable emission. And the only reason we know it existed is that it destroyed a star that crossed its path. If the star hadn't passed through there, it would still be there, in silence, unseen, uncatalogued, with no reason to stop. To understand the weight of what this means, you must first understand what a black hole actually does to the space around it. A massive star burns for millions of years through nuclear fusion. Hydrogen becomes helium, helium becomes carbon. The chain continues, element by element, each fusion releasing enough energy to keep the star standing against its own gravity. It is a fragile balance, outward pressure against inward gravity, maintained by a process that cannot last forever. Until it reaches iron. Iron does not release energy when fused, it absorbs it. When the core accumulates enough iron, the fusion stops. In fractions of a second, there is no longer any force to sustain the weight of everything above it. The star collapses upon itself. If the mass is great enough, there is no force in nature capable of resisting the collapse. None. What forms is a singularity, a point where space-time does not just curve, it breaks. Around it exists the event horizon, an invisible mathematical line that, once crossed, isolates you from the rest of the universe forever. It is not a wall. It is not a barrier you can feel. It is simply a place where the universe ceases to exist in the direction you came from. And this place doesn't have to be stationary. It could be moving right now, in a direction where no telescope is pointing. But there is a bigger problem than movement, because black holes don't need to move to be invisible. They already are. Black holes do not emit light. They cannot be observed directly. They are detected by their gravitational effect on surrounding objects, by the accretion disk, matter spiraling toward the horizon, heated by friction to temperatures of tens of thousands of degrees, or by tidal disruption events. When a star passes too close, gravitational forces rip it apart. The difference in gravity between the near side and the far side is so brutal that the star doesn't explode. It is stretched, torn, transformed into a stream of gas. Part of the material escapes. Part of it spirals back into the black hole, heats up, and glows. For months or years, that point in space shines, brighter than the entire galaxy around it. And then, it goes out. What remains is silence, and a black hole slightly more massive than it was before. The implication is haunting in a specific way. A black hole that finds no matter emits nothing. It appears on no map. It triggers no detector. It can exist for billions of years without anything in the universe registering its presence, including us. AT 2024 TV was not in any catalog before 2025. It was displaced 2,600 light-years from the center of its galaxy, where another, even larger black hole resides. Two supermassive black holes in the same galaxy, one at the center, the other wandering. AT 24T4 is the name of the event, not the black hole. The name of the star it destroyed. The star has no name. The black hole has no name. Only the event has a name. Of the approximately 100 tidal disruption events ever recorded, this is the first one where the black hole was not at the center of the galaxy. The first. This does not mean it is the only one. It means it is the only one that found something in the right path to be detected with the instruments we have today. It is a sample of one, from a sample space that no one can calculate. And this is where things get more disturbing, because the latest data doesn't just show black holes in the wrong place. It shows black holes doing things that no model predicted. In 2023, the Zwicky Transient Facility Telescope, which scans the sky every 48 hours, identified AT 2021 Volvox, an object that began to glow in 2021, and it didn't stop. Supernovas have a characteristic light curve. They rise fast and fall in weeks or months. AT 2021 L-Weeks had been glowing for more than 3 years when it was published. Peak luminosity, 2 trillion times that of the sun. In its entire lifetime, the sun will emit a vast amount of energy. AT 2021 L-Weeks emitted 100 times that in months. No supernova model explains this energy. The most energetic tidal disruption event previously recorded was 3 times less intense. The hypothesis supported by the data was an extraordinary gas cloud being consumed by a supermassive black hole, generating a flare that wasn't supposed to last that long, but it did. The nickname among researchers before publication, Scary Barbie, derived from the automatic identifier ZTF-20 Barbier, where the final letters resemble the name. The researchers who study the most violent objects in the universe named one of them Barbie. The universe does not care what you name things, but Scary Barbie still followed a certain logic and thoughts. A black hole consuming matter on an absurd scale. What happened with AT 2018 highs had no recognizable logic at all. In 2018, a black hole 665 million light years away destroyed a star, detected, studied, classified, and then it went silent for years. In 2022, with no identifiable trigger, with no change in the surrounding environment, the object exploded in radio energy, not gradually, exponentially. Within months, it was emitting signals 50 times more intense than at the peak of the original event. No model predicted this. The current hypothesis is that a relativistic jet was launched with a delay. The accumulated material created the conditions for the jet only years later. The jet is becoming more intense. Models suggest it will continue to increase until 2027. The total estimated energy is between 1 trillion and 100 trillion times the energy of the most powerful weapon ever built by humanity. A black hole that stayed quiet for years, that then woke up and exceeded everything it had done before. Without warning, the nickname for this event is Jetty McJetface, and there is still a star being monitored right now, AT 2022 Deep Wall. It orbits a supermassive black hole in an elliptical trajectory. Every time it gets too close, it is partially shredded. Tidal forces rip away outer layers, and the star survives long enough to continue orbiting, to approach again, to be shredded again. The first documented repeated partial disruption event in known physics. There is no clear reason why this should be happening the way it is. 4 cases, 4 behaviors that the models did not predict. The pattern is not one of exception, it is one of limit. But there is a detail that few mention when talking about these cases, because the problem isn't just what black holes do, it's what exists at their center and what that says about the entire universe. At the center of every black hole, there is a singularity, mathematically, a point of infinite density. In practice, physicists recognize that infinite density is the equivalent of dividing by 0, not a real physical result, but a signal that the applied theory has stopped working. General relativity breaks down at the singularity. Quantum mechanics has not been satisfactorily unified with relativity. The 2 most verified theories in physics, tested in every environment humanity has managed to create, contradict each other at the only point where both should apply at the same time. The center of every black hole contains a region where physics stops working, not metaphorically, literally. And there are an estimated 10 to 100 million of these objects in the Milky Way alone. Most are invisible, most are unnamed, all containing something at their center that science cannot describe. Hawking radiation suggests that black holes evaporate slowly over absurd time scales, $10.67. For a stellar mass black hole, the universe is 13.8 billion years old. This difference is not one of magnitude, it is one of category. But Hawking radiation implies something that has not yet been resolved. All information that crossed the event horizon must be preserved in some way within the radiation emitted during evaporation. Quantum mechanics demands this. General relativity implies the opposite, that information is lost forever. The black hole information paradox is not resolved. Hawking dedicated decades to it. There is no consensus. The most studied object in modern astrophysics contains at its center something that physics does not describe, and at its edge, a contradiction that no theory has resolved. And this leads to an implication that completely changes how you should think about the universe around you. If you were to cross the event horizon of a sufficiently large supermassive black hole, you would feel nothing different at the moment of crossing. There is no physical boundary. There are no signs. Only the geometry of space-time would suddenly shift around you. And then, at some point later, the singularity would become inevitable. Not as a destination you avoid by changing direction, but as a destination that lies in your future, regardless of any trajectory you choose. Inside a black hole, the singularity is not at the center spatially, it is in the future temporally, and the future cannot be avoided. There is an object that physicists use as a scale reference, TON 618. Quasar 10 billion light years from Earth, 66 billion solar masses. The event horizon is 400 billion kilometers in diameter. The entire solar system would fit inside it with room to spare. Luminosity of 100 trillion suns when active. What we see of TON 618 is how it was when the universe was less than 4 billion years old. The universe is now 13.8 billion years old. What TON 6118 is now, we do not know. The speed of light is the maximum speed for any information in the universe. We are always looking into the past. For distant objects, this past is so deep that their present is simply inaccessible. The universe we observe is not the universe that exists. To grow so fast, so early, TON 618 required conditions that models do not completely explain, either an extraordinarily massive origin, or feeding more extreme than any model predicted, or a mechanism that has not yet been identified. None of these options solve the problem. All of them imply processes happening in the universe that we do not yet have the tools to see. Black holes will be the last structures in the universe. When all the stars have died, when the galaxies have dissipated, when there is nothing left to consume, they will still be there, slowly evaporating over timescales that exceed any number with real meaning for the human brain, until the last of them emits one final flash of radiation and disappears. And then the universe will be a cold vacuum. No structure, no events, just empty space-time evolving forever without anything ever happening within it. This is the real chronology, not an interpretation. In 2027, Jetty McJetface is expected to reach the peak of the jet that began growing without explanation. What happens after? No model predicts. There is a black hole wandering right now in some galaxy that has not yet destroyed anything. No name, no record, no detectable emission. Its existence is in no catalog because nothing has crossed its path yet. When something does cross, if it ever does, it will be the only reason we will know it was there. You started this video feeling that something was in the dark. The only reason we don't know if you were right yet is that nothing has passed through there.